Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today, and welcome to everyone that is tuning in. I'm Christina from the fourth team. I will be your webinar host today. We have an interesting topic to cover, and I am excited to hear all about it. But before we get started, I will just go over a couple housekeeping notes as people are joining in and getting settled. First is that this is being recorded in case you want to rewatch it later, share it with someone, or if you have to step away at any point during the webinar. We will be emailing you the recordings, so no worries. And second, if you have questions at any point, please feel free to ask them. If you're joining us live, you should see an option to submit a question towards the bottom right of your platform. And if you're watching this recording at a later time, you can always email us with any questions you have as well. And now for the webinar. Today we have a special guest who will be sharing his expertise and insights on high performance markets. So I'd love to officially introduce our guest speaker, Harish Ramalingam. So Harish is a strategy and operations leader with over 15 years of experience across QSR and consumer products. So Harish has previously held leadership roles at McDonald's across 4 different regions with a $3.5 billion business across 11 states, and Dean Foods, where he is overseeing multi-state markets, driving operational discipline and unit level profitability, as well as leading corporate strategies. So joining Harish is Jay Altizer, fourth Chief Operations Officer, who will be moderating today's discussion. So Jay partners closely with restaurant operators and brings a very practical operations first perspective on how technology is helping teams improve labor efficiency, control costs, and scale more consistently across locations. So thank you both for being here with us today. And Jay, how about I let you take it from here?
Thank you, Christina, and thank you mainly, Harish. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Harish and I have been friends for a long time, and he knows more about restaurant operations, knows more about a lot of things than me, and more than a lot of people have forgotten. So he's forgotten more than a lot of people know. This is going to be fun. And thank you so much for making time to talk with us today. Um,
Pleasure, Jay. Thanks for having me.
you got it. Let me set us up quickly. So let's just I'll describe the agenda for what we're going to cover today, and then we'll get into it. So what I thought we'd do is talk a little bit about what makes a good operation, a good unit, a good region, and I think that is harder harder to do certainly in the last year or two than it may have been in the past. The 2025 was a challenging year for most of the multi-unit operators I've talked to. Uh, there's a lot of labor complexity in getting your operations right, depending upon your menu. The commodity complex may not have been friendly to your margins last year, and it's been increasingly difficult to push pricing onto consumers in what's been sort of an unsteady consumer demand environment. So it's hard. So specifically, what we'll do is we're going to walk through uh, 3, 4 topics. So we'll start with what makes a high performance market versus a low performance market. We'll talk about what are some indicators, and I know you're going to have great stories for this, Harish, for um, when a market's in trouble, or just what it feels like to be in a high performing market. We'll talk about just down the P&L, what good looks like, or sort of what's behind the P&L in a strong market, and on the opposite end of the spectrum, what challenges look like. And then we'll sort of end with talking about for leading brands or for growing brands, how you get operational discipline as you scale. So what does scaling look like, and what do you need to have your eye on? And then maybe just finish with like a few points to watch in 2026 in this current environment. So if that sounds like a reasonable agenda, thanks again, Harish, and I say we get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Well, so why don't we start with just maybe pulling from, and I know you multiple like sort of multi-location and multi-unit businesses, but just talk to me about what a high-performing piece of a market or high-performing set of units would look like, and how that would compare and contrast with maybe a more more challenged region or more challenged market.
Got it. So just for context, I was with McDonald's for 8.5 years. I was in 4 different regions during that time. I was in Dallas, Houston, Seattle, and Nashville. So we relocated quite a bit. My family was very, very, very considerate and moving with me. But I'll tell you, there was a lot of difference between a good performing and a not so good performing regions. I've had the fortunate to have Houston as number 1. When I went to Seattle, Seattle was number 1, and Nashville was in the top 2 or 3 as well. I'll tell you, it comes to basics. Okay? What I've seen, the good performing and average performing region is coming to basics. I'll start with this. In McDonald's, we used to have as a plan to win, which is a national plan, and every region has to come up with a local plan based on a national plan. Where most regions fail is having a translatable and explainable goal to start with. For example, I was in Houston. When we started with Houston, we had a goal of sales of 4% growth, which for executives and for corporate employees, it's actually easy to understand. But when you go to a store and talk to a crew member, and if they ask what is the goal, some will not know. Some will say it's 4%. And if I ask them to explain, do you know what 4% means? Most of them will say, I don't know what it means. I don't even know what the sales numbers are. So clearly, the goal that we have in the region is not translatable all the way to the employees. The number 1 success factor, in my opinion, is every employee, every crew member should be able to explain the goal in a way that they understand. So we went back to Houston and said that goal is not, the idea is not working. So we should have something which everyone can understand. So if you go to a restaurant in McDonald's, they measure the car count left, right, and center. So you go to a store, you will see a paper where they have the cars last year on the same day and number of cars that they actually transacted today. And they track it on
like day, actually. So you can see versus year ago.
Exactly. So, and we came up with a goal to say 24 cars more a day, which translates to 4% sales, but it's translated crew member can understand, because they track every hour how many cars did you move this year compared to last year, and 8 to 9, 9 to 10 every time period. So at the end of the day, this was and we had a full wrap where we went to all the franchisees and middle managers and said every person should be able to understand this goal and should be tracked at the restaurant when they walk in. So when I started walking into the restaurants, you would see crew members excited and saying, hey, we have 10 cars up today already, and it's only 10 a.m. So, you start seeing people starting to talk about excited that's tracked. So one, that they understand the goal. The goal was to have almost every single person talk and say 24 cars a day. 24 cars a day is easy to understand because it's 24 hours a day. So we came up with 24 cars a day, and people were looking at it and tracking it, which every restaurant did. And so I would go and randomly ask, even if I'm shopping a restaurant, it's at the drive-through, and say, how many cars are you up today? And they would say it's 16. They would say it's 18. So you would know that people are really following it. which I think is extremely important. I think people, I've seen many companies have goals, but the individuals at the lowest level in the restaurant who deal with the customers don't understand it or able to speak to it. There's a huge difference between strategy and operations in my mind, which I think should be definitely broken. And in good performing regions, I see that happening where the goals from the top is transferred all the way to the bottom. I think that's extremely important to do.
I really like that example of making goals like easy to understand and translatable, and then widely communicated. Just like because you talk about that something I've seen in some other operators is that's not always the case. Like sometimes you've got like a lot of goals, a lot of objectives, a lot of paperwork. There are other examples I've seen where you're almost making it like an undoable task for the store manager to understand how to balance priorities, because or the much less the crew, because they've got so many things on their plate, because there'll be there's this new item I've got to work on, and then we've got a cleanliness initiative, and then like somebody's looking at my labor to sale. So I've got you just got this plethora of metrics that my take is yeah, like you said it, if your leadership team's not doing your homework, really getting into specific, I think it makes it confusing for the local unit.
Yeah, no, I think, listen, I will tell you, I've seen obviously the goals first translate. Then there is what we call is the major, standard, and minor. You cannot have more than two majors for any restaurant, because on a day-to-day basis, running a restaurant is very complex. From the shift manager to the general manager to the crew members, they go through a lot of their tactics. And if you push more than two majors, they lose what the focus for the business is. So we call it standard way of doing business. I think there's Greensby, you got to do it. There is no question there. And then there are minors that it comes and goes. You just have to do focus, but it's not your top priority. But don't have more than two majors would be one of the biggest recommendations. If you look at the top performing organizations, I've dealt with the organizations from 2 restaurants to 120 restaurants. So big organizations, you would see the successful ones have those majors very focused on 1 or 2 things every month. And that should not change, and people should be able to speak. I think ultimately it comes to having a cadence, a discipline meeting where you say, here is what we need for the month. So everyone can speak the same language, and then automatically measure that on a weekly or a daily basis, however frequently you want to do it, and then communicate and reward and incentivize people for performing. Simple business. I think it's not complicated. It's easy to say, very hard to obviously execute. But I think those are some of the principles that I've seen people do very well, and as a result, perform better than other organizations or even other regions for that matter.
Oh yeah, and were you better? How did you see situations where maybe you had better operators, better franchisees that had to like balance priorities? That hey, we're really focused on these couple of things, and somebody would have another thing they wanted to push in, or something that they were trying to get done, and like how'd that conversation go? Where you were really having to balance priorities to keep focus.
Yep. So I think I'll give you a good example. When a customer walks into a restaurant or drives through a restaurant in McDonald's, they look for 4 or 5 things in a restaurant. It's fast, it's friendly, the accuracy of the product that I order, I need to get the accurate product. I need the restaurant to be clean. And most importantly, I need you to be friendly. So you can call it FFA, FSC, however you want to call it. So those are the 5 big elements a customer looks for when they come into the restaurant. And every organization can, depending on the restaurant, they can say, I'm lagging in one of these. For example, I'm not friendly enough. And you get that through your customer feedback, through voice scores. I mean, there are different ways of getting feedback. In McDonald's, there's voice scores, there's customer complaints. The voice scores gives an indicator of what customers are looking for. So good organizations, I know an organization that came in and said, hey, I'm not looking good on my overall friendly scores. So they had a hospitality program. I even remember they said, I don't like the word hospitality because a 15-year-old crew member doesn't understand what hospitality means. So I'm going to call it super friendly, which everyone understands. So they changed it from a good hospitality to a super friendly service and called it as a super friendly and focused on that because their voice, but again, everything has to start from data. Data should tell you that that's what is lacking in my restaurant. Obviously, looking at the last 12 to 15 months trended data, understanding what's going on. It may not be true for every restaurant. For some restaurant, it may be speed. For some restaurant, it may be friendly service. So, and then they had this program called Super Friendly, and they actually copied it from a Chick-fil-A book, which I'll tell you, which is a very interesting item. As much as a McDonald's person, I have respect for Chick-fil-A. They have a wonderful job executing. One of the things they do, if I remember right, is they used to train somebody for 2 weeks, and they only hire them full-time if the person does well in the first 2 weeks. So this, and there's another best practice. So this organization that I know, one of the things they do is during the interview, if you don't smile 2 or 3 times during the interview, you don't get the job. So they didn't tell that. They just started. I think one of these big hotel chains did that at the Starwood or Marriott. So they copied from there. So in the interview, they don't tell the candidate. So they actually end up seeing whether you smile or not. If you smile, then you're naturally a friendly person. So they actually did that 3 or 4 times. So they hired the right person, and then they made sure that everybody understands and focus on that part. So they wanted to get their friendly score very, very high. And they didn't care much about the speed for the month or month and a half they were trying to do it. And what happened is it actually really worked because your customer started saying it's the rude service. They ended up understanding training and getting the right people. And you could see the voice scores and customers telling that, hey, there is some big change in the restaurant. Over a 3 month, nothing happens within a day or so, but over time, and that you could see translate into results as well. So focus on that restaurant, for example, on that chain was purely on trying to be friendly more, and that's the most important piece. And everything else follows after that. So.
That's actually a really good segue. So let's talk about and it's interesting to hear you talk about the friendliness being the most important thing in that instance because everything presumably sales, guest satisfaction, and then ultimately the P&L follows out of that. So let's transition to talking about the P&L a little bit. So just maybe compare and contrast for me, like either healthy, thriving store versus a challenged store, or healthy and striving, like franchise operator maybe versus a challenged one. Like, what did you see? Maybe walk down through the P&L, like so sales, like labor costs, food costs, waste, just what's good P&L versus bad P&L look like, or challenge P&L?
So it starts with training. I'll just hit the top and then I'll go into the P&L a little bit. So it starts with hiring and training. A good organization will have a great hiring practice as well as a good training practice to start with. So the people in the restaurant actually would know what's going on exactly and execute to it. When he was getting trained at the restaurant, I'll tell you, my general manager who was working was such a stickler. He would not allow me on anything else. It's important for him to be the best player in the best field. I had to do French fries because that was the easiest thing to do at that time. So I was there. And it's an important best practice.
That's all. Yeah. So you're like the corporate guy and you're out there and he's like, no, you do that job. I don't want you talking to people.
Exactly. So he's like, you've been gone in 3 months, you'll tell. I need to still run the restaurant every single day. So, but I think it starts with there. So, and I think, and if you look at good organization to an average organization on the P&L, Good organizations look at labor as an investment. Average organizations look at labor as a cost. Labor could be an investment or a cost depending on how you set it up, right? For example, I can have 14 people work. I'm just picking up a number for a restaurant during lunch from 11 to 12. And I can have more cars run that, or I can say I'm going to have only 10 people run for this 11 to 12 and have less cars run for it. The biggest difference I've seen is people who understand the difference between an investment and a cost control, especially in the labor side, especially for peak hours. You cannot have high labor throughout the time. You need to understand when your business is peaking. For example, McDonald's, it was like 7 to 8:30, 7 to 9 breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Those 6 hours, call it approximately throughout the day. You need to invest labor. You cannot cut labor. I have seen restaurants that do a great job of hiring part-time folks only for that time and saying that's what I need to invest. Whereas other restaurants saying I'm going to cut labor because it's too expensive for me to do it. So, and that is a big, big, big difference. And there's a report that McDonald's looks into. It's called a SOAR report or VLH report. What it does is it tells you how well you're staffing to the peak based on the needs.
So it's not general, not average across the week, but it peak focused.
It's a peak focus, and it says if the system comes and says you need 14 people, and if you're having only 11 or 10 people, and there's a strong correlation. We looked into the sales, we looked into the profitability, and to the peak, and there was a very, very, very strong correlation there. At least the restaurants, we could see it. So that becomes an important part, I'll say. So then the training will show in terms of the food controls as well. Obviously, FOB, the food over base, is a term that we look at in McDonald's. And if you look at it, good restaurants will have close to 2.5%. Good training, having a constant process, making sure you do the inventory every single day on the waste, and controlling that process will help. So if you look at the restaurant, there are 3 big line items. Labor, we talked about. Food is a big we talked about, and then if you go to the capital, there's the maintenance, how well you maintain these machines, which I think McDonald's gets a lot of flack for not having an ice cream machine working, which we get it. But at the end of the day, I think if you look at it, those are the 3 big elements, and food and labor is close to 60% of the P&L, 55, 60. It's a big number. The best control that you have, and those two will differentiate a good restaurant from an average restaurant.
Yeah, that certainly our experience would be that, and working with a lot of customers. And looking at, I kind of like what you said, which is here's how these things show up on the P&L. Couple of things I took away. One was that training and getting people to understand the system, what they're doing, their role. That's actually how you influence things. And then I really like that the labor as an investment concept. That's not something we hear everywhere. And labor to peaks is certainly a concept that we try to advance that notion with customers. We try to get customers in a forecasting mindset, just like you would be in a manufacturing business, and think ahead about what your demand is going to be, where you're going to have, peaks and spikes. Is it going to be unusual because of weather or exogenous factors? And I think that's a lot of it. If you're nailing the peaks, you've got people there that can get the cars through. That's when you're going to make money. Conversely, we definitely see operators unfortunately go into a spiral sometimes where it becomes, I'm not making any money, I got to cut this labor, and particularly if they're cutting labor, just in a broad or gross fashion, over time, guest satisfaction it's the beginning of the end. Guest satisfaction drops, and ultimately then sales drop, and you're less happy than you were when you thought cutting your labor would be a good idea. So and that's not saying spend frivolously, but it's the service ultimately, and or friendliness maybe in your example, that really is ultimately what's driving your demand and driving your repeat.
Yeah, no, I'll give you one last stat on the stats on this one, and then we can move on to the next question. I very well remember the importance of having a good, friendly, and a good service, good experience. When a customer walks or drives through a restaurant and gets a great experience, right? And McDonald's tracks this question and will you come back and all this, it's statistically done this. The odds of them coming back within the next 14 days is 28 to 30%. However, if a customer has a bad experience and you make it right for them, because they come and say, hey, I've had some bad experience, and they come in and you make it right for them, and you just say, you know what, sorry, let me fix it for you. The odds of them coming back is 68% within the next 14 days. Nobody expects you to get it right the first time, but they want to see that you really want to make it right for the customer. When you don't get it right, you actually have to make it right. And that is a very good example of having a good service mindset, getting it first, if not making sure the customer gets it right, or I make it right for the customer. And it tells you in terms of the customer loyalty to the brand, because they come back again and again to know that, hey, they made a mistake, they understood it, they took it right, and they made it right for me, and I want to give them in the business. That is an extremely important data point that I actually talk about at all the big meetings that people need to understand, because most of the time, people just don't take the time to make it right, even though if it's customer's mistake or ours, it doesn't matter. It's just the customer always wins mindset. The service, the friendliness, that is the one that drives repeated business, and there is data that actually backs that. And we want to continue to do that. And
like actually incredible, right? You double the repeat from fixing a problem that you do from just doing a good job in the first place, which is, I felt heard, right? Like, that's amazing. I mean, like, so were you measuring that? Like, any way to measure that? Like,
so what happens is obviously there is a question when the customer, at least again, the statistics that the way they do it is when you go and ask the question, how often do you come to a McDonald's? What's your chance of coming in the next 14 days? Do you come to the same McDonald's? So we know we have, you're talking about like millions and millions of customers. So you get a lot of data points to look into. We know which ones did not get it right for the first time when they made it right. So they track that and they look into it and say, how frequently are you planning to come in? And then obviously some they track how you come in as well, because they give a coupon for, some of these guys get a coupon when they get an experience. They feel like, and then they start coming more and more frequent. So they look into, there's a Chicago team that looks into all this analysis and comes and does this math. But the reality is I've actually, you can take your own example too, right? When somebody goes out of the way to make things right for you, you feel like that customer, that company cares about me and I want to give them business. And I think that's an extremely important factor. So.
No, super interesting. Super interesting. All right. So let's take it. Let's talk about scaling. I think I know where you're going to go, which is like the importance of your people systems and how you think about you think about people systems. But how what are the ways you think about taking some of those lessons or principles and practices and getting that working across, not just a few, but hundreds of units. And my guess is that simplification and focus point probably is part of it. And another guess would be just the way you're hiring and sort of training your people is another part of it. But that's a challenge, we see often with we'll have a customer or a restaurant that's got like a hot concept, and They'll they're on to something with what they're doing, and it's running one restaurant is really different than running 10, is really different than running 100, for example.
I think scaling is an important part. I think if you look at McDonald's, the company, the brand as a whole, if there is one thing that people expect is they expect the same burger to taste in Florida the same way it tastes in Seattle. And you're talking about across the country and consistency. And if you want to, and this is because people were able to scale effectively within the organization and be consistent across the customer delivery, which is a big deal for many of the franchisees. When I look at these big organizations, like I'm looking at 120 stores, 100 stores, or 80 stores. The most important thing, again, this is not rocket science, I think, but it's hard to execute, is to have a very clear and strong mid-management. And you need to understand what the ratio of the mid-manager level to the restaurants, and you need to have a strong manager. I know, let's say you have 100 restaurant owner with batch of 24, 25s, just as an example. I have seen difference in execution between a patch one, patch two, and patch three and patch four, and even within the same market because of the leadership difference between where you have a strong mid managers. So I think that's extremely important, especially when you're starting to grow and if you want to scale across the country or across the region that you want.
That's interesting. And when you're saying leadership, which role would that be specifically, or what or role combination role?
VP of operations or director of operations that you would have who manage 20 plus stores, depending on the title, depending on the organizations they have. So that is an extremely middle management important role because they are acting like the CEOs, so they need to be pretty strong in making sure they understand what needs to be translated. And then I think, listen, you see that the practices at that level, they all meet on a once in a week, for example, as a director with the owner. And then the sub practices below that change. So obviously having a strong discipline, meeting the team, meeting your supervisors, meeting your store managers become extremely important. But I'll tell you what really differentiates I've seen is also people keep it fun. If you make it fun, it is actually very, very, very translatable. So I'll tell you a good example again, this just came to my mind. When we were going to restaurants, we would see organizations having a friendly competition between 1 to 10 between the 10 restaurants. And they have different metrics, whatever you pick, however you want to measure it, from a scale of 1 to 10. And I went into one, I remember 1 to 10 or 1 to 15. I remember going into one of the restaurants and asking, hey, what is that store? Like it says, it had a store number, right? Like 1 to 15. And they know their ranking. They were like 4 or 5, but I say, what is that store number that's 14 or that's first? They're like, I don't know, it's a store number. So, and I went and asked them, not personal to them. I mean, they only see their ranking, but they don't see who's a friendly competition. So magically, what there's one of this happened. One of this said, okay, let me go change it to the general manager's name from 1 to 15 instead of calling the store number. Now it became like they know all the general managers because they all have a weekly meeting or meeting. They all know. Now they've given a hard time texting somebody, you're number 14, I'm number 1. And it became fun. And you just saw that everybody wanted to work together and win. And suddenly overall the business started going up. There was a big difference between that patch that did and the patch that did not do it. Again, small things as you look into, as you start scaling, you have all the business principles, you have all your goals, you get things going, but what you lack is the fun and motivation for people to do it day in and day out, every single day. I think if you're able to do that, and I think that goes a long, long way. And obviously, you have to incentivize the folks to do it as well. Right incentives, making it fun. Because I'll tell you, every human being wants to win. They do not want to be on this 14 or 15. They just want to be in the top, right? And I think that motivation continues to drive people.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. Actually, that's like my son's fantasy football. That they started that in I mean, they started like in middle school. They're still doing it every year. It's like a lot of hot competition to win, and nobody wants to lose. Like,
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I have a fantasy football with the McDonald's folks, and the winner gets in. They gave you a toilet bowl as well. The one who comes in last, they send you a toilet bowl or something just to tell you, give you a hard time. Fun.
yeah,
I think nobody wants to be fun. So.
no, that's awesome. Yeah, like I like the making it fun, right? It's not all metrics and corporate stuff and clipboards, and work should be fun. Okay, let's take it home and let's talk about headed into 2026 in multi-unit operations. So it's we're in this compressed margin environment. You've got a number of operators struggling with demand. There's a lot of value pricing and sort of battling for share of wallet going on. And I think you're seeing a number of operators try to use technology in different ways to help with that, both in on the front end, in marketing, and in the commercial experience, and also in operations. Like, what are 2 or 3 things that you would suggest operators keep their eye on, or just maybe have front of mind headed into this year?
It always starts with the customer and ends with the customer. So keep an eye on what your customer needs are. I think with the AI coming in, technology coming in, and you got competition today that's completely different than what competition was like probably even 20 years ago. For example, GLP-1. That's a major competition to a fast food industry, which is underrated, which I think in the next 10 years or so, it's going to be a big factor. Because it definitely takes the appetite of the customers in going in. So you have non-traditional customers, you have traditional competition, you have traditional competition that we know. We have the supermarket that's always a competition for fast food restaurant. I think you want to make sure that you do 2 things well. You are better than yesterday, and you are best in the block. I think every restaurant should be able to do that. They're better than yesterday, they're consistently improving from yesterday, and they are best in the block. And understand your customer expectations. The customer expectations changes. AI is changing everything. For example, I got my treadmill that 2 weeks ago that didn't work, and I tried to call the call center. They were like an hour wait. I just went to ChatGPT and took a picture. It just asked me to do 5 things, and it already worked. So customers are changing and adapting to technology. We need to understand what is the customer need, and adapt to it and deliver that. So keeping an eye on customer is the most important thing, not just for this industry, almost every industry that we have. And I think that changes quite fast in this current environment.
Yeah, that's if you used to work with someone who said, if you're not sure what your strategy is, go focus on your customer. Like that, it's a pretty good.
Yeah. And again, I'll tell you, the first one I gave you, which I think is the best practice, have easy translatable goals in 2026 as you come in, and make sure that everyone can speak and explain that goal. Every employee should be able to do it, all the way from crew members to executives. I think that's usually people don't give as much importance to it, and I'll tell you, it plays a big difference. And if you're able to do that, make it fun, rank people, make it fun, have clear goals, make it fun, keep an eye on customer. I think that's the win in 2026 model. And technology evolution and all those are going to happen. It's going to disrupt these industries. Keep an eye on that. I would say those are the top 3 that you need to do in 2026 to be successful.
Well, I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up. So keep it simple, focus on a few things, keep it fun for the team, and then just stay on top of customers and customer needs. I think that is fantastic and timeless advice. I'm proud of myself for having gotten through this session and not joked around as you and I tend to do when we chat. And so hopefully our audiences has found a nugget or two of wisdom in this, and that they can take away. Christina, you wanna come back in and see if we've got any questions?
Absolutely. So let me take a look here. So we'll move into our Q&A portion with the audience. So thank you both for a great discussion so far. Before we are out of time, we'll just take a few. And if you haven't asked a question yet, but you have one, you can still submit one. If we don't get to yours today, we'll follow up with you separately after the webinar. So one of the questions I'm seeing is, what is the toughest habit to standardize across stores?
That is a great question. What I have noticed from my experience is the daily program that you have to go in. When you walk into a store, you have certain things to do. Whether you make your salad prep, you walk through the stores, which is all I call clean hygiene to run a restaurant. Unfortunately, what I've seen is that is a very tough one. People take it and not follow across the store, which creates some bad habits and obviously results in some good or bad performance of sales. So the daily habits, walking the store, making sure that you have everything set up for the day at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. whenever you walk. It changes across different restaurants. As much as we have seen and emphasize that's the most important thing, I have seen that's a tough one. I mean, I think where people look into some of what you do every day, mid-managers, emphasis, they have a log. They look into the log of what you've done, what you haven't done. Because if you set this up very well, I think overall the business runs well. I've seen quite a bit of variability there, which I think people should do if you want to continue to run good restaurant sales. It's a good question.
Awesome. Second question, what did the best operators do when they had a bad week or bad month?
I think bad month and good month is always going to happen in a business. I think you may have some construction that happens and you suddenly see a sales loss of 30% that you didn't expect for a whole month or for 2 months. I think the best thing is to just look forward, understand what happened. One, if you have it in control or not. I think that's the first thing. And construction and losing sales, for example, is not in your control. Okay, so if you have things in control that you see, whether all those you cannot control, is the best thing is to understand what happened and then use that to go forward and solve that. So I think people who dwell in the past and start complaining are definitely not going to win, but the best people who have seen successful or say, here's what happened last month, here's what the learnings from are, and here's what we're going to do in next month or two to not make it happen and come out strong. So it's about thinking about the future and not worrying about the past is one of the best things that operators have done. Everybody is going to have a bad month. There is no doubt about it. But what you learn from that and what you do about it is more important than anything else than just complaining about it.
I like that, Harish. And we'll take one more question. So how do you know when a GM is overwhelmed versus just not executing well?
Oh, that's an easy tell, right? Like when you go in and ask about a goal, what are you doing? If the GM tells you more than 2 things, they are overwhelmed. And you will see 8 or 10 restaurants come and say more than 2 things. They'll say, I got this. So if the GM cannot tell you a difference between a major, a standard, and a minor that we talked about with Jay earlier, then it's very clear that they don't know, they're overwhelmed and they don't know where to focus. So that's a standard tell. And I think if you go and ask, hey, what is your objective? What are you working on? If the GM talks about more than 2 things, I think they are overwhelmed and they're doing a lot more than they should be doing. And I think that's a good benchmark for you to have when you go into restaurants and talk to people.
Okay, that's all the time that we have for questions. So thank you for those that submitted. And just to conclude and round out our webinar, thank you so much again, Harish and Jay, for this conversation. And thank you as well to everyone that tuned in today. We do host webinars every month here at Fourth, so hope to see you at the next one. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.